Welcome to this channel, guys. Today I'm going to be recapping the episodes of Secret Level. Each episode comes with a different story, so relax and enjoy. Episode 1, Dungeons and Dragons. This episode begins with this guy called Solon, who is being locked up in a cage. This guy has been suffering from a terrifying curse for a long time, which has to do with him hearing tormenting voices in his head, and doing things out of his own will. 4 alien friends called Mora, Tally, Luzum, and Ahokal, who just returned from battle, sees him in a cage, but is being guarded by a cult group called the Cult of Dragons. They finish off the cult members guarding the cage with their powers, and sets the human boy free. But unknown to them, the cult leader is seen watching them in a magic ball. The rescued boy Solon wakes up from unconsciousness really scared, asking the aliens what they want from him, but Mora calms him down saying they rescued him, and clears out to him that he was a prisoner of the Cult of the Dragons, but now they intend taking him to a dragon called Oriel to cure his curse. But Tally, a member of the group, is of the opinion that they kill Solon, or abandon him, because the tattoos on his body is very suspicious. He might be a member of the Cult of Dragons. Luzum, the elder in the group, tells Tally that the tattoos in Solon's body is a mark placed on someone about to be used for sacrifice. He believes the Cult of Dragon were taking him to the Well of Dragons, probably to sacrifice him to their god Tiamat. The voices in Solon's head keeps getting out of control, and it takes control of his body, making him to stab Mora. Mora stops her group from attacking the boy because she knows he didn't do it out of his will, and heals herself using magic. She asks the group to give her some minutes to talk with Solon. Mora tells Solon that whatever is inside him is really strong, and inspires him to stay strong until they reach Oriel the dragon. While she talks, Ahokal, a shape-shifter in their group, informs Mora that the Cult of Dragons has found them. Quickly, they arrived at the dungeon where Oriel the dragon lives, but are confronted by hundreds of Cult of Dragons members, led by a ghoulish guy with icy powers on a giant bat. While Tally uses her magic spells to open the dungeon, the cult leader shoots his icy powers at them. The ice almost harms Tally, but Solon uses his body as shield to protect her. Tally tells Mora to quickly take Solon inside the dungeon, while she and the rest will hold off the cult members. Mora takes Solon to Oriel the dragon, who appears to be so magnificent as its skin is golden in color. Oriel tells Solon that he is safe, and he is going to take whatever curse that is inside him and destroy it. Outside the dungeon, Ahokal uses his wind and shape-shifting powers, Luzum uses his super strength, while Tally uses her magic. With their abilities, they subdued the cult group. On the other hand, after Oriel extracts the curse inside the kid's body and absorbs it, the dragon starts to feel uncomfortable, and is shocked how Solon carried this curse for years, which is something he can't even hold for a minute. He tells them all to run, as the curse is taking over his mind. Since Oriel the dragon does not have the capability to contain the curse, it suddenly transforms him into a 3-headed dragon, known as Tiamat. Tiamat shoots both fire, electric and poisonous breath towards them, but Solon unleashes his powers to shield them. Solon tells them to run while he holds off Tiamat, who he has been holding up his whole life, but the team chooses to stay and fight by his side, and that was how this episode ended.
Well,
I can hold it back on my own.
I believe
Episode 2, Sifu. This episode begins with a guy called Sifu who eats at a restaurant. He commends the chef on how good her food is, but he sees a gang passing by, and looking at the marking on one of them hands, he realizes that it was this gang that murdered his father when he was a little kid. The gang also killed him, but luckily for him, there is this charm his father placed on his belt that revived him. Immediately he leaves the restaurant, he follows the gang. He traces them to a club party, where he asks the gang where their leader is. The gang responds with violence, but he beats them all brutally using various objects he sees around him. One of the thugs succeeds in slicing his throats, but Sifu immediately resurrects from the dead, thanks to a charm on his belt. Even with his impressive fighting skills, the gang are way too powerful and they manage to kill him for the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th time, but he still ends up back on his feet, and we discover that whenever he dies, and resurrects, he becomes much more older. Sifu annihilated all the gang members, and confronts the gang boss. Sifu defeats the gang boss and the episode ends with him becoming way more older, and he returns to the restaurant to have another wonderful meal. Episode 3, The New World. This episode begins with King Aelstrom and his army, boarding the ship to an island called Aeternum. But before his ship can reach the shore, it gets struck by lightning which destroys the ship. The entire army drowns in the ocean, and Aelstrom would have gone down with them too, as he went after his sinking crown, but his courtier, Scylla, reaches him in the nick of time, gets the armor off him, and drags him all the way to the island of Aeternum. Aelstrom is amazed on how beautiful the island is, as it will make a fine addition to his kingdom, but Scylla reminds him that his army perished in the storm. Aelstrom tells his courtier that an army doesn't make a king, but a king makes an army. Aelstrom sees a boy on the island and calls his attention, saying he is here to conquer this land and its people, but the boy attacks them to demonstrate something to him. He takes Aelstrom's sword and kills him and his courtier. Aelstrom and Scylla resurrect from the dead, and they are shocked on how they are still alive. The boy who formerly killed them, introduces himself as Erda, and explains to them that this island is called Aeternum, an island where nobody can be killed. As long as you're on this island, you're an immortal being, but anyone who comes to this island, can never leave. Aelstrom sees this as an opportunity to become Aeternum's ruler. He goes to meet the ruler of Aeternum called King Zima, and challenges him to a duel. Whoever wins, becomes the king of the island. But that turns out to be an uphill task, because Zima is too good at combat and strategy, while Aelstrom is an idiot. Aelstrom's arm is cut off and is killed instantly, but he resurrects from the dead after a while. Aelstrom is happy to resurrect with his both arms, and we find out how arrogant he is when he mocks his courtier who came to this island with one arm, saying he will surely spend eternity a one-armed man. He goes to challenge King Zima again, but not in sword fight this time, but in a chess game, horse riding, wrestling, and many more, but no matter what the beefcake does, he still ends up dying. Scylla decides to summon the courage and reveals to his king, that he has been made to think that he is one of the greatest men alive, because his subjects don't want to lose their lives by defeating him in any fight, and they didn't want to tell him the truth, which is that Aelstrom is a spoiled brat with no skills whatsoever. Aelstrom gets so angry hearing this, and tells Scylla not to pollute his sight with his craven existence ever again. Aelstrom goes to see a sorcerer and asks him for power to gain dominion over this island. With the power, Aelstrom challenges King Zima again, and we discover that since Aelstrom casted Scylla away from his presence, Scylla now works for King Zima.
Do you seek dominion? I have given years. That crown belongs to you.
King Zima defeated Aelstrom again, but he is so tired and bored of killing Aelstrom every time, so he decides to give up his crown to him, and he storms out happily with the crown in excitement. But funny enough, that crown is just one of the million crowns King Zima has. As Aelstrom puts on the crown, he realizes that the only person who would have congratulated him is now working for King Zima, because with him, he gets the respect and love he deserves. So, instead of wearing that meaningless ornament on his head, he meets with Erda to teach him how to make a forge. Aelstrom forges the crown into a prosthetic hand, and gives it to Scylla so he won't have to spend his eternity with one hand, something that Aelstrom was joking about earlier. And that was how the episode ended. Episode 4, The Unreal Tournament.
This will be a tournament unlike any other, not just glory.
This episode is about the Liandry Mining Corporation, where Dean and Parker prepare for their day. They work as supervisors at the Liandry mining facility, where robotic workers are forced to mine on asteroids, and anything that can help produce stuff of some value to sustain life on the planet, that is ruled by the Game Master. It's dangerous work, and a lot of them end up dead or killed when they're unable to keep working. Each team of mining robots is supervised by a pair of humans, who treat the seemingly mindless machines pretty heartlessly. While hitting one of the robots, a robot called Zahn, who is watching the mistreatment, suddenly gains the ability to experience feelings and sensations. Zahn helps the robots around it think for themselves too, and they end up killing every human supervisor at the mining station.
At least you get to stop working. Let go! Let go! Oh God! No.
The Game Master imprisons that whole batch of robots, and, to make a display of strength and power, she decides to pit them against the most deadly mercenaries in the titular tournament. Just as the tournament begins, the first batch of robots are sent to the pit to engage in a fight with the mercenaries, but they lost the battle and they all got dismantled. The second batch of robot are brought to the pit to fight, but never did they know that this batch of robot watched the tactics, on which the mercenaries used to kill the first batch of robots, and these second batch robot did not only learn their fighting tactics quickly, but they became more ever combat ready. They killed all the mercenary that comes before them. The game master gets so frustrated and angry to see mining robots winning the tournament, so she has no option but to send the Necros captain and his squad of elite warriors to the tournament to kill the robots.
Get in the tower. Finish this.
But the robot who keeps growing smarter, finish off the elite team, but that isn't the end of it. The robot leader Zahn decided not to take nonsense from the humans anymore, and begins a rebellion, by hacking into all the systems.
Those machines' code got past the firewall.
What's going on?
With that, they killed the game master, and are prepared to take over the world, and that was how this episode ended. If you enjoy the show and you want me to continue, please let me know in the comment section below and don't forget to subscribe. Bye.